I think that the people who are the most focused, when you actually watch them, you would be astounded by basically how simple it is. It's just that it's very difficult. It's simple in that it's easy to understand, difficult in that it's hard to execute. If you watch someone write a book for 16 hours straight, you're like, okay, that's what writing a book for 16 hours straight is. But what you don't see is all of the prepping the table for the work that happened prior to and in the years leading up. So almost every billionaire that I know in my life maintains such a clean space, physically, and then more importantly, emotionally clean space. As in the people that they allow in their circles, they have one razor that they use to judge them, which is, does this person increase or decrease the likelihood that I achieve my goals? So does having this person in my life, does having this habit in my life, does having this phone call, does having this brunch, does having this weekend trip, does it increase or decrease the likelihood I achieve my goals? And I think that a lot of you in the beginning are so afraid, and to be fair, even as you progress, because it happens in levels, are so afraid of cutting things out because you have a fear that you'll never get it back. You have a fear that that cut is permanent. You have a fear that if you miss out on this fantasy football season, that you'll never get invited back. But there's two things that you'll have to remember, which is that one, a more capable version of you will have more doors that open than you do today. And so you'll never lack for opportunity in business or lack for opportunity in friends if you get better. The reverse is not true. If you get lamer and you stay in fantasy football, they still may not invite you back, but then you've lost both. And so I have yet to have more doors closed for me in the future than I have had in the past, because the trade that you make is becoming better, and there will always be more doors for better people. And the only way that you get there sometimes is by closing the doors in front of you today. And so there's just this fallacy that it's an irreversible decision, but it's not even that it's irreversible. Let's say there is a door that's irreversibly closed. The fallacy is that a better door does not exist in the world, and that a better version of you wouldn't have access to it. And that's the real fallacy. And so that's my encouragement. That means that there is a better friend of yours than your current best friend that exists for a better version of you. There's a better hobby for you than the one that you currently have when you are better and you are more able and you have more resources. And so I know how scary it is at any level to cut people out. I cut people out today, like all the time. Like in this year, I've cut multiple people out of my life. So it doesn't end. What happens is your standard raises. Your standard, your bar of who's allowed in your space. Because as your goals get bigger, new people, or rather old people, fail the new standard. So does this person increase or decrease the likelihood that I achieve $1 million status in my life? Well, I mean, I'm already there. So they don't need to hit that bar. They've already kind of crossed it. They're still in my life, already hit it. But does this person increase or decrease that I hit the likelihood that I get $10 billion in my life? No, I don't think this person's going to be somebody who's going to increase that likelihood. If not, then why keep them? And so a lot of you guys are doing this for different reasons, and I can appreciate and respect that. But I would posit that the reason that matters most is who you become along the way. And I have yet to see a person who accomplishes more by taking on more. A lot of big truths are inverted. Like you get the most by giving the most. You get the most done by taking the least on. And so it's these ideas that, like, the thing is what feels intuitive. If the intuitive answer were the correct answer, then everyone would already be achieving it. And so it's the counterintuitive solutions that we have to be mindful of, because those are the ones that don't seem right at first glance, but only people who have the procedural knowledge of having gone through it, who can kind of lead the breadcrumbs and say, no, like, you really do have to focus. It makes sense that if you did 5 businesses, all 5 should grow, but it's not reality. So it's counterintuitive that one business will outgrow 5 if you actually focus on it. And all of the effort you have also at a micro level, you have 5 tasks within that one business. If you focus on the one task that matters most and you put all your resources towards it, it will grow the whole business more than trying to do 5. And so it happens all the way down. And the only way you can do that is by clearing the way. And I would say that most of the times when I talk to the portfolio founders that we have, most of what I talk about is what they're not going to do, not what they are. Just being very real. A lot of the strategy is what are you not going to do, and what one thing, if we accomplished it, would be so big or so important that it would make these other things irrelevant. And so I try and take our priorities list of 5 things and say what one thing matters, and let's erase the other 4. And if we just did this one, we will succeed. And so right now, I'm gonna bring this home for you. Many of you have this big list. Who here has a big list of things that they know they should do right now? Just give me a little shout out in the chat. Who here has quest things? Massive list, right? Huge list of things that you know you should do. So lean into this. All right. So pay attention. This is for you. I need you to take that whole list and pick one thing and then erase the rest. And then once you complete that one thing, you do no other task besides that one thing. That means the next time you sit down, you eat, you come back, you get back on the task, right? And if you need to buy a little timer or you do it on your phone, get a little timer and actually see what your time on task is. Say how long you think this should take. Take an estimate. And what you will find oftentimes is that something you think will take 2 hours sometimes takes 20 minutes. But the pain of trying to figure it out, so it might take you 10 actual minutes to figure it out and then 2 minutes to do it. And so the thing is that a lot of the work that you have right now, especially when it's the most important work in the business, is work you don't know how to do. Because if you knew how to do it, you'd already have started. And so it's the unknown that creates the delay. It's the fear of being inadequate, the fear of failure, because we have it all the time. We all have it. And so if you can define part of the problem solving as wrapping your arms around the problem, understanding the problem is part of the problem solution, then you won't feel like you're being unproductive as you take 45 minutes to understand the problem, then 5 minutes to solve it. And so right now, you'd also be amazed at how much easier it is to solve problems when you're only trying to solve one. And so when you try to solve 5 at the same time, you're so spread thin and you're bouncing between different things that are contingencies of one another. When if you just solve one, the amount of mental bandwidth, like basically said differently, you can be a lot dumber and win if you only try to solve one thing at a time. And so there's a reason that I have this tweet that went really viral, but a focused fool can accomplish more than a distracted genius. And so I've met a lot of you, and you're very smart, but you're distracted. You're easy to beat. I'd be grateful to compete against you because I know I wouldn't even be competing against you. I'd be competing against all the other things that are competing against you. Because all I got to do is beat 1/20th of you. Not that hard, no matter how smart you are. And so what's interesting is that a good visual for this is if you think about yourself as the sun, right? Like you're the energy source, right, in your world. And you need to burn through a hole through a piece of paper. Like that's what you have to get through. A sun has more than enough power to burn through it. But if the sun is evenly spread, it just warms up the paper, but it doesn't even break through. But if you take the magnifying glass, even a small amount of magnifying glass, you'll be able to burn the hole through. But you have to focus all of that energy on one point. And so many of you have suns and suns worth of energy, but you're so spread thin that all you do is warm your stuff up. You never cook it. You never break through. And you would be amazed at how much more you can accomplish when you only have one thing to do. And here's the second one. This one's that you want another counterintuitive one you don't expect. Is that the speed of doing 5 things in a row is faster than doing 5 at the same time. So if you do number 1, and then because you know these other 4 things are still important, so that these other 4 drive you to do number 1 faster because you're like, shit, I still have to do these other 4. So then you get number 1 done and then you're like, all right, now I'm going to start on number 2. So you start on number 2 and you're like, I still have to do 2, 3, and 4. But the problem is because you haven't been able to prioritize, you haven't been able to focus on what one thing is the most important. You are afraid of having it take too long. So you start on all 5 and in so doing, make it take way longer than it would have taken to begin with. And so I would say if I had to TLDR this is about how to work. And it works at all seasons. whether you're advanced or you're starting out. It's just that the nature of the distractions change, but the highest output work process remains the same. It's just that the quality and quantity of your distractions improve the better you get. And so it's a lesson you have to relearn at every level. And so with that, my friends, I think we could transition to the A's and Q's. I hope that was interesting for you guys. It's just been something that I've seen within the community a lot. And I think that if you got I'm gonna be real with you guys, if you need accountability, you're never gonna win. That's what no one's gonna tell you. If you need accountability, you're not gonna make it. So you need to be your own witness. And if you can't be adult enough in your own life to be the person that you want to hold yourself accountable to, then you need to go fix that. I think Epictetus is this great quote. He said, if you need, do you know what that quote is? I know you do, Kirby. It's one of my favorite, he said, if you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own. And so I'll say it differently. If you are ever tempted to look for outside accountability, realize that you have compromised your integrity. Because if you need someone to hold you accountable, it should be you. Because no one's going to save you.